Welcome everybody to another episode of Green Talks. I'm Ryan Thogmartin with Disrupt Media and Connecting Directors. That's Darren Crouch with Passages International. Darren, welcome back for episode 3.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so we have a great topic for today, and it really is focused on the standard of care for families. Cardboard still seems to be the norm, and that needs to change.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to funeral homes that do 1,000 cremations, and when I ask them what is their product breakdown in terms of what families are selecting to place the body in for cremation, this funeral director told me they sold 3 caskets or containers that were not cardboard. So they cremated 997 family members in basic cardboard boxes. And, our view is there has to be a better way. And we've been working on that for the last 2 or 3 years. And really, through no fault of the funeral directors, there just really hasn't been many options that, provide families with affordability and simplicity that is not cardboard. And, manufacturers over the years have tried to create sort of upgraded cardboard containers by making them heavier duty or putting a printed laminate on them or putting fabric on them or, trying with limited success, I would argue, to elevate the standard of care. The problem with that, it's almost like putting lipstick on a pig. The consumer still sees what it is. You can call it whatever you want, but at the very core of it, it's cardboard. What we found is that it becomes very difficult to defend the price of those products. So if you're trying to upsell a family or trying to give them options outside of the basic cardboard, there's very little value in that product. And so when a family says, well, why is that one $895? And you're like, well, because it's got fabric on it.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to justify the price. And so we've been really excited to introduce this bamboo cremation container that we came out with late last year, that we're having tremendous success with some funeral homes. And we have funeral homes that have completely eliminated all cardboard and are having, great success with families and profitability.
Do you think that families are expecting something other than cardboard?
I don't think families really know, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty operational stuff, they don't really know. I mean, I think families have told me that I didn't even know you had to be in some container to be cremated. And I explained to them, well, there's the operational issue of how do you move a dead body if it's not in.
Yeah. Well, Hollywood doesn't depict that to us when we see, a crematory in a body. All right, Darren. So if we look at, the funeral homes that I get to talk to and crematories that I get to talk to that are doing thousands of cremations a year, a lot of the time the family is a part of that experience. So the family is viewing the body prior to the cremation. They're pushing the button to start the conveyor. And so, as I'm picturing myself in some of these facilities I've been in, and there's this great big, 8-foot window, and I'm looking at this retort and I see a body on a conveyor, and I think of, a beautiful bamboo container versus, the typical cardboard container that says head and foot and, it's got marker scribbles on it. That's the image that the family leaves with, right? It's the last thing that they see. And why do we want to present it in a way that's, I don't know if ugly is the right word, but it's cheap. It looks very cheap.
Right. Well, the irony is that, as you said, funeral homes have realized that there is an opportunity to take the crematory out of the warehouse type setting or the garage type setting and move it into, your building and make it part of the experience for the family. And funeral homes are spending thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to create these spaces. And then the irony is the vast majority of the containers that get cremated with bodies in them are cardboard. And so you've gone to all this trouble to create this experience for the family. And the lasting impression is this, like you said, a cardboard box getting conveyed into the crematory with head and foot on it and some scribbling. And I think that's where our bamboo containers are really powerful, because they still are simple, they still are affordable, but it really shows that, you know, not only did you think about the facility, but you also thought about the container that most of these bodies are going to be cremated in, which is a considerable step up from cardboard. Right. And so, you know, I think when funeral directors are explaining that, you know, the body needs to be placed into something, it's kind of the same thing that happened with the black plastic box. It's just, we haven't done a very good job of educating families on the value of something beyond cardboard.
Sure.
And some of the funeral homes that we've worked with that have eliminated cardboard, I mean, granted, they did it gradually, so they didn't eliminate the basic cardboard immediately. They eliminated 3 or 4 other cardboard type options, upgraded options. And families didn't blink. To me, it's almost like, you know, when a grocery store chain stops giving plastic bags, you know, maybe there's a few moans here and there for the first couple of days, then people bring their own bags.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. Well, and I think if you said a cardboard product next to a bamboo product and the family had to make a decision, I mean, naturally you would gravitate more towards the bamboo, only for just aesthetics, if nothing else. And if we think about cardboard and the way that cardboard is used in our everyday life, it's a throwaway product. It gets smashed, it gets folded, it gets ripped and torn, and it falls apart very easily. So, you know, when you're looking at putting a loved one in something, if there's another option, I would have to say that families would dominantly choose that other option if it was presented to them, or even if it wasn't presented in the funeral home, just switch to bamboo. Right. That would be better received by the consumer.
Yeah, I think, you know, cardboard is one step up from a trash bag. You know what I mean? There's a fine line there, right? And you know, I think you're right in terms of the perception. You know, most families don't know what the basic unit is or should be. And so the bamboo has been really well received because aesthetically, you're right, it is much more superior. However, we've worked really hard to strip out a lot of the features that would not have value to families, while at the same time, you know, giving it a dignified and attractive appearance. But we still understand that words that families use are things like simple and affordable. And so we want to make sure the product is simple. So for example, this bamboo container doesn't have a lining. It has like a 1-inch quilt, absorbent quilt on the bottom that the body will sit on. It actually has a bamboo headrest. It doesn't have a pillow. So when a family says, I'm just looking for something simple, and they see that, they're like, well, yeah, it's simple. It doesn't have a lining. But it communicates the funeral director has given some thought to something beyond a cardboard box. And that's been really successful.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think that it fits in the marketplace well. And it's, you know, you're exactly right. When we look at the way that we kind of treat the cremation, the black box and a piece of cardboard have always been the norm. And that's just, it's not good enough when that's 51% of the decisions that are made. It doesn't make the cut anymore.
Right. And, you know, when we found that, you know, the funeral homes that are eliminating cardboard have felt like, you know, cardboard doesn't align with their values. It doesn't represent their brand as a company. And to put somebody's loved one in a cardboard box, whether they're spending $750 or $7,500, you know, it just doesn't make sense when you're trying to take care of these people at some of their most difficult times in their lives. And then you're telling them, yeah, we're going to put your mom in a cardboard box. You know, what we found also is there's really 3 phases that this is better for family, better than cardboard. Number one, we think it's better for families. Obviously, if we don't put their loved one in a cardboard box, that's better for them. From an environmental perspective, I mean, this is a green talk. From an environmental perspective, we've done independent lab testing. We found that the bamboo burns at a lower temperature, which means it doesn't require as much energy to burn it. It doesn't emit a dark smoke. It emits a light smoke. It doesn't emit any kind of Styrenes, which are carcinogenic. It basically emits carbon dioxide, water, and oxygen. It also leaves a very pure residue, so it burns more completely versus having sort of an ash, like when you burn paper, you kind of have that ash type residue left. So from an environmental standpoint, in terms of actually cremating, it's very good. But also there's the social aspect, because this product is complete. It's 100% fair trade. So we have the social aspect where, we're employing people that sometimes can't read and write. We're helping them educate and elevate their lives. It ships flat packed. So it's assembled at the funeral home. So it's a very low carbon footprint. There's a lot of those types of factors. And then what we've actually been able to do on the third element to that is make it better for the funeral home, because it can actually be much more profitable. So we've worked with some funeral homes that are going to bring $200,000 extra straight to their bottom line by doing this. So it really is better for families, better for the environment, and better for the funeral home. Not to mention that the perceived value and reviews they may get. You always take a chance when you put someone's loved one in a cardboard box that you're going to get someone who takes offense to that and leaves you a really negative review. I think when you're offering them a bamboo container, people really can't take offense to it. And the beauty of it is as well, is the funeral directors and even the pre-need staff can defend the price. They really enjoy it. They get behind it. When someone says, why is this $600 or why is this $800, depending on the model, they can talk about all the things that I've talked about. Burn testing, fair trade, low carbon footprint. We are here in your neighborhood. We don't want black smoke going out of our stack. It's, and the emissions and all those types of things. So it really makes a lot of sense on many, many different levels.
Absolutely. Well, that carbon footprint, I mean, this is Green Talks. So let's look at an environmental impact. You and I talked about on the very first episode, does the consumer really care about eco-friendly or green? And, I think if there's one thing that we've learned kind of through this pandemic, is that this has been a big conversation, is the environment of people not moving around as much, what that's done to the air quality. We look at our oceans where plankton are now glowing because there's been less agitation. So the consumer really does care about the environment and whether things are green or eco-friendly. And that's a great marketing stance for a product like this for funeral home as well. I mean, I kind of always tend to look at, from a product standpoint, how could this be marketed if I'm using this in my funeral home? And, the things that you just mentioned, those 3 points are all marketable points that not only show value to a family, but show this how conscious your funeral home is in adapting to, the world we live in the 21st century. Like we need to update our speak a little bit in the way that we handle families and communicate with families. So if a funeral home is interested in looking at this product or learning more about it, how can they do that, Darren?
So they can obviously contact us, or they can visit our website at passagesinternational.com. We have some videos and some testimonials from funeral homes that have used it. So that's really helpful for them. And I just want to make one more point with regards to green. I think even though there's debate about whether or not cremation itself is green, and there are some issues with cremation, I think consumers perceive cremation to be greener. And so to position a bamboo container as the minimum choice for cremation makes a lot of sense to the consumer. Because part of their rationale for cremation beyond the price is, okay, it uses less resources. I don't need a metal casket. I don't need a concrete vault. I don't need a headstone. And that leads into sort of cremation in perception wise being greener.
Absolutely. 100%. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much. That wraps up episode 3, and have a great afternoon.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.